offices all over the United States. It's never been anything like it. $18 trillion investment. So we have over, fellas, we have over $18 trillion being invested in the United States of America. The record was $3 trillion 10 years ago, not by us, by another country. And we're going to do 18, and I think the 18 is going to go higher. We're just looking at 11 months. The 12th month hasn't come in yet, but it's going to bring us over 18, maybe even hit 20. So you have 18 to 20 trillion dollars coming in, and we've never had anything like it. We have a record we just set, as you know. The S&P 500 just set a new record, 7,000. Nobody thought that was possible in this quick a time. They thought maybe at the end of 4 years or 5 years or 6 years. But we did it in the first year. And we had 48 stock market highs, Roger. So Roger's a big beneficiary because he has a lot of stock. But anybody that has stock, including people with 401ks. So the economy has never been like this. It was just announced that crime is at an all-time low. Best numbers on crime in the recorded history of our country, and the lowest numbers of murders in the history of our country that we have. Recorded history goes back 125 years. That's not bad. And a lot of that is because of the fact that we have a closed border. We've taken out thousands and thousands of criminals and murderers and drug dealers and everything else. And we've either brought them back to their country, or in some cases we have to put them in our jails because we don't want to have them come back. And so we don't want to just bring them back to their country and then they maybe come back. Despite our border, they're pretty sneaky, pretty smart. So we're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. The country is really in great shape. We have a large armada, flotilla, you can call it whatever you want, heading toward Iran right now, even larger than what we had in Venezuela. It's still in front of Venezuela. The Venezuelan situation, the leadership is doing a very good job. We're very happy, and we're getting along very, very well. And we're inviting countries of the world very shortly. They're going to be starting to take the oil. We're going to be heading that with the country, and it's worked out really well. We're now sending actually a larger number of ships to Iran, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens. But this is going to be exciting. So I'm going to ask, and he really is a legend. He's a great man. I've known him for a tremendously long time. I refuse to say we were both young. Now we're both a little older. We refuse to say old, but we're a little older. But Roger Penske is the chairman, as you know, of Penske Corporation. He's got everything you can imagine, mostly, I think, to do with automotive. And I'd like to ask him to say a few words about the event, because this is going to be, they're putting everything behind it, and I think it's going to be really exciting. Roger, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This is a really amazing time for us as a company to support the 250th anniversary for the country. And there's no better way for us to bring automotive and speed into the DC area, and to have the opportunity to be able to compete here with our Indy cars. As you know, we own the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we're taking that history of over 100 years and the speed and what's taken place there with the different manufacturers, and bringing it here to this race will be amazing. Certainly the Freedom 250, when you think about it, it's just a byproduct of what the President has done during this year. And this will be an event, obviously, in August, which will make a huge difference. And we're excited. Be areas for people to see. Most of the grounds will be free. So it's going to be an economic benefit to the area, to the city, and obviously, with our Fox partner, Eric Shanks, will be our media partner. And believe me, what they did for us at Indy this past year, they're going to take that and put it on steroids, really, and take it to the next level. So thank you, Mr. President, for allowing us to come into your city.
That's so great, Roger.
Thank you.
Great man. Eric, I'd like to have you say a few words. He's done a fantastic job at Fox, and he's really excited about this, and I know they're going to lay it on the line. Eric, please.
Sure. Well, thank you, Mr. President, for having us here today. Big shout out to Secretary Duffy. This project was kind of on life. You stepped in recently. and got us here today. Secretary Burgum, your team has been absolutely incredible.
Explain how many times you came to Washington trying to do this.
I think Bud came here 81 times.
81 meetings I had in Capitol
Meeting
Hill.
with senators, meeting with people at the Capitol, and they all wanted it. Everybody wanted it, but they couldn't figure it out. It was crazy. 80 some odd times. That's pretty amazing. So go ahead, please.
Right. Well, it's a real honor to be a partner with Roger and IndyCar. And at Fox Sports, we do the biggest events in sports. This year we have the FIFA World Cup rating here as well. And then dovetailing right after that, to be able to celebrate America's birthday on Fox is an absolutely incredible honor. And everyone at Fox Sports can't wait to see exactly how this is going to unfold and bring it to life. So, Mr. President, thank you again for signing this today.
And the big thing, it's August 21st through the 23rd, and I believe the race is on the 23rd, right?
Yes.
That's going to be incredible. They're going to have practice sessions. It's going to be just a very exciting period, I think, for Washington. If I could, I'd like to ask Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, who's terrific and doing a great job. Much more important than Sean is we have Rachel Campos Duffy here, and she's one of the greatest people I know and one of the greatest people on television, so most of you know her, but I don't think we'll have her speak about the race because she knows less about it than anybody up here. But she is fantastic. Sean, please.
So the president gave us all a directive, which I'm grateful for. We're going to celebrate America's 250th birthday, and he asked all of us to think outside the box. How do we make this historic and cool, and let's all do this together? And he loves the country, he loves the birthday, and so we at DOT were working on this concept. We didn't know at the same time Penske was working on the same project too. And so we've come together, and Doug has been a wonderful partner. But to think 190 miles an hour down Pennsylvania Avenue, this is going to be wild. The last time we had a race in the capital city, Bud, was when?
1801, Thomas Jefferson with the horse race.
A horse race in 1801, Mr. President. Now we're going to do a real race.
That's so great. That's such a great.
So listen, this doesn't happen. You know, we just don't come in and ask the president to sign. There's a lot of work that goes into this, as you can tell. Bud and my chief of staff Pete all had a lot of meetings on the Hill. We couldn't be more excited about this. Again, I'm going to repeat: this is free for the American people to come to your nation's capital and see a great road race. Freedom, America, speed, and road racing. It doesn't get more American than that, Mr. President. So thank you for signing this, and thanks for all of your support.
You are fantastic, and what a job you've done. They put it together very quickly. They've been coming here for years, and everybody wanted it. You know, every senator wants it, every Congress, everybody wants it, but they don't get things done.
Only Mr. President.
Trump gets things done. We didn't have 89 meetings. We had maybe a half a meeting. I think this is probably about a half a meeting. I'd like to thank Pete Meacham for the great job you've done representing us, and Luke Bunting. These are two young people that work with us, and they've really been fantastic. I'd like to ask Doug Burgum to say a few words. He's very much involved through his position of interior, because a lot of the space is interior. He sort of has, I think he's the largest landlord anywhere in the world by far. So Doug, could you say a few words, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. President. This birthday that's coming up, the 250th anniversary of America, Freedom 250, is the most monumental birthday maybe of any country ever in the history of the world. And President Trump, with his directive to celebrate this thing, we've got what's more American than race car driving? What's more monumental than the Indy 500 as an icon of what's going on in our country? And so merging the history and the tradition of our capital, Washington, D.C., with the speed and the innovation that goes on in the IndyCar series is incredible. And it's a great metaphor, because the speeds we're talking about is the speed of President Trump. I want to reiterate, there weren't 81 meetings with the Trump administration. I think it was, they called President Trump, he got Sean and I going, and that was like from Saturday till now, we have a race.
1 week.
1 week we have a race, as opposed to like 4 months of talking. So I think there's also a metaphor here about President Trump, who's an incredible sportsman. He's an athlete himself, but he loves sports. And so whether it's soccer, UFC, the football draft, NFL football draft coming, IndyCar, and all the teams that he hosts here. I mean, to any American who loves sports, you ought to love this president because he's bringing professional sports to our capital. And again, August 21st to 23rd, you talk about the economic impact. By the time all these reporters get done telling the story, there's not going to be a hotel room available in this city on that weekend because everybody's going to want to be here.
Right.
People that maybe have wanted to see an IndyCar race their whole life are now going to have an opportunity to come to their capital, celebrate 250, and see an IndyCar race for free. And they're going to be able to see it on the National Mall. And wherever you put down your lawn chair and watch this race for free, you're going to be staring at the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial. And I'm sure there's going to be fireworks this weekend too. I'm sure of that. And if you need a permit, you can get one from the Terrier. So anyway, it's absolutely incredible. And congratulations to Sean, the Penske organization, Fox Sports, everybody for putting together. This is going to be a great celebration for America.
Thank you very much, and you're doing a fantastic job. Could I just ask Bud Danker, who's the president of Penske Corporation, to say a few words, please?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. You know, Eric Shanks and I from Fox had this dream, and just last July, and could it ever be possible to bring a race to our nation's capital to celebrate our country's history? And everybody said there's no way. It's impossible. How do you put a race 80 miles an hour in a city like Washington, D.C.? I came here, I walked this area for a while, I found a racetrack on the Capitol grounds, up against a lot of meetings and couldn't get the kind of support we need. So within a week, Secretary Duffy and we put this together with the president, didn't we? And now we have a race here on our city property, on the national properties that is going to celebrate America. The word free shouldn't be overridden because we are going to have a free event here. People come out and celebrate our country's history. I also want to thank Mayor Bowser. She has been a great partner in this process as well too. So I know, Mr. President, she's a great supporter of what you've done here in the city as well too, and we thank her for this. But we're going to have an amazing event. We're going to make everybody in this country proud. We want everybody to come out for free and enjoy this and celebrate our country the way it should be here in the nation's capital. Thank you, Mr. President.
And I said, pick the best site. It's very important. Pick the best site. Don't go for second or third because there's a lot of different routes. I said, pick, even if it's more difficult to get approved, pick the absolute best site. And they were actually looking at another site, and when I said that, they said, well, the best site is this site, the site we're doing. I said, let's take a look at it, and we think it's the best site too. It's actually better than the original site they were looking at, but if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. So this is going to be something in terms of the road width, the crowds, and everything else that we can all, the best site, one of the best sites I've ever seen actually, and it'll be beautiful. So I'm going to sign this. And if you have any questions on this subject, that'd be great. We just named a new Fed chairman today. You know that? He's a central casting. He's like Roger Penske, central casting. You know him, Roger? Very good guy. Roger, no auto pen. I didn't use an auto pen. Here, Roger, take that.
I will.
Here,
Thank you, Mr. President. Oh, that's great.
Here you go, my man. I don't want to sign each letter, you know, they sign each letter, they hand pens. I used to watch these presidents. One letter, you gotta see what it looks like at the end. Never looks too good. Here, Rachel, take that. That's for your team.
Thank you.
Congratulations, this is really exciting.
Thank you.
Really
Mr.
good.
On your Fed Chair nominee, since you just brought it up, did Kevin Warsh commit to you that he will push to cut interest rates if he is confirmed?
No, but we talk about it, and I've been following him, and I don't want to ask him that question. I think it's inappropriate, probably. It probably would be allowed, but I want to keep it nice and pure. But he certainly wants to cut rates. I've been watching him for a long time.
Senator
President,
Thomas Tillis.
did you have any concerns about his hawkish history of pushing for rate hikes?
He's going to want to do the same thing. I think that, yeah, I've had times when I think you've had literally have rate hikes too. But he's very smart, very good, strong, young, pretty young, and I think he's going to do a guy. I mean, he was the central casting guy that people wanted. Kevin was great. I tell you what, I met numerous people. Every one of them were fantastic, really fantastic. I wanted to keep Kevin here, and I thought that I called Kevin 1, Kevin 2, and we have. I said it's going to be a Kevin, but you know, Kevin really has been fantastic at the White House. You all know him. You know him very well, And so we have Kevin W.
Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the confirmation hearings? We've heard
No.
Senator Tillis.
No.
You think
Well,
with the DOJ investigation?
This is, in the whole country, I would say that this was the, perfect candidate. This was not a surprise or anything. This was the man that's most qualified. Top student, best schools, everything was like perfect. The youngest person ever to serve on the Fed. Got the whole package. Looks don't mean anything, but he's got the look, right? Roger, looks don't mean anything, but if they have the look, it's okay. But he's got the whole package, and I think he's going to do a great job, and he loves the country.
Mr. President, why are you
Yeah,
Will you speak to the
Please, in the back, yes.
Are you giving Iran any kind of deadline to make a deal before potentially taking
Only
military
they
action?
know for sure.
Have you
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Come gather round the footlights, lads, and hear the old boards groan. A tale of ink and iron will, of voices overblown. From mics and scripts to painted sails, we've traded shore for sea. The players will man the rigging soon. Aye, your hands, follow me. From Long John shadowed silver grin to Jim with compass true. We speak the words, we wear the scars, we make the old world new. No gold without the work behind, no legend without sweat. A stage, a ship, a single breath. The course is not set yet. Sail, we play a sail. We play a sail soon. All hands to KLRN Radio, setting sail for Treasure Island, March 2026. got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got her, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't. Got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got her, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't want us. Mind checked out, heart ain't in the building. That second hand's crawling like it hates my guts. The man treating rich like it's a sin. Even God took a beat. So suck it. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, 'cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't owning me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. HR in the break room sounding like a preacher, talking about culture, smiles, and being team players. Clipboard dreams on the fluorescent light, selling hours of my life just to make it to Friday night. Got dirt on my jeans, and grease on my hands, clock more over than quality plans. But when that bell rings, it's a holy sound. Feel like chains hit the floor when it echoes around. I ain't lazy, I just work my fill. If rest is a sin, guess I always will. Thank God it's Friday, punching out live. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight don't care. Cold beer sermon and a bar stool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, 'cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't on me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. Boss can have Monday. But Friday night's mine, I ain't giving it away. I earned this beer, I earned this pay. lingered at 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a barstool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quirk. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't owning me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, there we go. Oh, dude, the restart with when Restream hiccuped, it threw everything off. So I apologize. Anyway, so you guys have been watching me try to talk for the last, what, 2-3 minutes? Anyway, so let's officially start over. So welcome into the program. It is Friday. For those of you who are wondering, that song, Clocked Out and Hallelujah, will be out probably in the next 2 weeks because I haven't actually submitted it yet, and it takes a while to get them into the pipeline. Plus, we've put out like 4 in a month, so I want to give these 4 some breathing room before we start putting out other stuff. But do want to say good morning and welcome in. And sorry about that glitch when everything hiccuped a minute ago. It defaulted back to my webcam microphone, and I have that one intentionally muted on purpose. So I had no idea I wasn't broadcasting till you guys said something because my dumbass forgot to look over there and make sure there was a green circle where my talkie talks are supposed to be. Anyway, so if you're just joining us, you likely missed the executive order of Donald Trump authorizing, I believe it's an IndyCar race for America's 250th birthday. Now, of course, the left is having a field day about the UFC fight and the IndyCar race and all this other stuff. They seem to forget that this kind of stuff has happened before in our history. In the 1800s, they actually had a horse race come down Pennsylvania Avenue. So this isn't anything new. It's just it's like one party's forgotten how to have fun. And it's funny because it used to be us. That's the weird thing. Remember, the Democrats used to be the hip, cool, fun party, and now they're the ones that are just like angry and mad about everything all the time, no matter what you do. So the funny thing is, ever since I was a kid, they kept telling me that there was a party switch, and Republicans became Democrats, and Democrats became Republicans, and blah, blah, blah. And the Republicans are all the stuffed shirts now. And now Donald Trump has turned that entire paradigm on its head, which is why the establishment Republicans absolutely hate him. I do want to talk about one thing real quick while I'm getting caught up from being frustrated because my mic wasn't working for a couple minutes. I do want to thank the GOP for proving me wrong and thinking that if we actually just nuke the filibuster, we could get some shit done, because you guys basically proved me wrong with that one yesterday. Thank you very much. I also want to give a quick, not so good shout out to the GOP House and Senate critters, because if you guys had sent over 6 individual bills, we wouldn't even be having this fight right now, because you could have just tabled the 6th one and then proposed the 2-week stopgap. So then there would have only been about a 3% shutdown, which, like it or not, is still stupid on the Democrats' part because we're in the middle of giant winter weather issues, and now there's another bunch headed towards the East Coast again. So them picking this fight when ICE is already funded is retarded. Them picking this fight when I'm not even sure half the Democrats know who's paying for all the protests. And I definitely know most of the rank and file don't, but we're going to be getting into that today. Because what if I told you that these people were all being used as useful idiots by folks that actually support groups like the Chinese Communist Party? And it's been caught on video. There's been actually some exposés that have come out recently with U-Haul groups or U-Haul trucks dropping off signs that are all pre-printed and shiny and stuff. And somebody went up and just asked them, "Hey, who's funding all this?" And it was, I believe they call themselves, what is it? The Party for Socialist Liberation or something like that, which has direct ties to CCP, if in ideology, if not funding. So it's funny, and I said this earlier today on X, the people that have been calling us Nazis got so wrapped up in the moment of being able to do that because they've always hated us that they never really took the time to listen to who was actually, or pay attention to who was actually whispering that shit in their ear. So I'm going to say it again. Renee Good didn't have to die. Neither did Alex Preddy. But it wasn't ICE's fault. One, the mayor of Minneapolis should have said, look, now that they're here, let's work some crowd control just to make sure that none of these people get hurt and do anything stupid. And he didn't. The governor could have said before now, hey, we're going to honor ICE detainers. It's funny because now all of a sudden they are, because they feel like they're getting what they wanted out of the deal. But for all the Republicans today that are screaming and yelling about how, we need to train ICE better, we need to do this better, you don't realize what you've done. Because you're now starting to give in to terrorists yet again, you feckless sons of bitches. And the problem that I have with this is every time we give in to the Democratic Party, we get nothing in return. This started with Reagan. In 1986, the Democrats said, just clear the docket for the folks that are already here, and then we can work together to do real immigration reform. Reagan said, okay, cool, we'll get her done. And then the Democrats took their ball and went home just like Lucy with the football, Charlie Brown in it all the fucking time. And the GOP keeps getting themselves painted into this same fucking corner because they don't listen to those of us that keep sending them to DC. We want single item bills. If you want to fund different things, send a single bill up each and every time. So then if there's a fight over a single bill, you're still getting shit done. This is about getting stuff done. This isn't about political optics. This isn't about we're going to make them sign this because if we group it all together, there's no way they'll shut the government down again. It didn't work for them last time. And look where we are yet again, because you have underestimated over and over again your opponent's ability to cut off their nose, to spite their face, just because eventually they win enough to get the voters to say, I'm tired of the fighting. Let's just give in. And then they use that as an excuse to steal the election, which they did in 2020. Hi, YouTube, I'm saying it again. Come get me, bitch. You nuked my entire channel to the point where nobody can find us anymore because I said this in 2020, and we talked about COVID in 2020, and we were nuked like a son of a bitch. You know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care if only 5 people hear it, because those 5 people tell other 5 people. Because I bring receipts when I talk about shit all the fucking time, just like we're about to do today. And yes, I know I've been trying to work on my language. Today is not going to be one of those days because I'm mad at everybody right now. I'm pissed off at both sides. I'm pissed off at the bullshit. And I'm pissed off at all the people that keep telling me, well, they're not doing anything. Well, guess what? All you motherfuckers that thought these protesters weren't going to get arrested, they just arrested a whole fucking batch of them today. The ones that ran into the church and started bullshit. Because guess what? Private property with public access doesn't even have to honor your First Amendment rights. You know how I know? Next time you go into a mall, assuming you still have one around you, look at all the posted rules about how you can't wear certain shirts, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't say these words. We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone at any time for any reason. So that's why Don Lemon got arrested today, for all you assholes that are screaming and yelling about how he's a citizen journalist now. You shouldn't be able to do that. It's funny how now that he's a YouTuber, he's called a citizen journalist. But I have never been called one of those. I have been called a right-wing extremist Nazi no matter what I try to bring to the table. And I'm telling you right now, I have receipts that these people, that all the shit that's happening in Minneapolis is being funded by communist sympathizer groups that all have ties back to China. So these people that are dying don't even realize that they've become martyrs, not for freedom, not for democracy, but for communism. Because they got so wrapped up in what they were told. I guarantee you, Renee Good thought she was doing something for the greater good. Probably so did Alex Preddy. As retarded as that was, and as dumb as it was, they have believed all of the bullshit that has been being spewed about the right for the last 10 years. Remember, we're the Nazis. We're the extremists. That's why they didn't bat an eye when Charlie Kirk was shot. That's why they didn't bat an eye when Donald Trump was almost assassinated, not once, but twice. Because we're the enemy of the good. We're the enemy of democracy. Except we're the ones trying to keep the shit alive. They have turned all of this so far on its head that I have friends that are fighting with me now over the stuff that I'm saying when I'm like, look, I can prove to you that this stuff is being funded by outside agitators. I can prove it. There are people on the ground that are admitting it. But nobody wants to hear it because, well, you're still Nazis and they still gunned him down in cold blood. No, they did not. No, they did not. I'm going to say this again as somebody who's actually had the training, and he knows this too because he was a concealed carry permit holder, and they give them most of the same training that I had, not once, but twice. When you are dealing with an armed suspect, you never assume, once you have determined that they are armed, that they don't have more than one weapon until you have been able to completely pat them down. So the idea that one gun was removed from the equation, even if the officers knew that, and it appears that the agents did not, is asinine because they have no way of knowing if he has any others. Not to mention the fact that after they had dogpiled him, you can see in the video, and I've played it before on this show in slow motion, that he is fighting with them after they're trying to get him on the ground. And as Jen and I talked about last night, that is no small feat to begin with. When you have somebody who's either pissed off, drunk, or both, and you're trying to fight with them to get them under control, it is almost impossible to do, even for a group. And that man was apparently a lot stronger than anybody thought. I don't remember the last time I saw anybody be able to kick a damn taillight out of a car before. That was interesting for me. But he did that a couple of weeks before this incident. So God knows how many other times he'd been dealing with ICE. This man was painted as a salt of the earth, as somebody who everybody can, well, this is somebody that I would have wanted my daughter to marry. Now, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but now I'm seeing all these posts from social media from people that supposedly used to work with him that were like, I was really upset at first until I saw these other videos starting to come out of everything that he did. And truth be told, he was a lousy nurse too. I don't know how accurate that was, but apparently from other reports that I've been seeing, he hadn't even been working for several weeks, which would explain why he had the same clothes on 14 days later when he was shot. This is all just, this pisses me off. This pisses me off. It really does. Now, I do want to start, even though I've been ranting a lot, we're going to give a bit of good news today because we do have that. So you remember the chop zone in Seattle? Hang on, let me get this queued up. Remember the chop zone in Seattle? Do you? Because I do. I just realized I pulled, when it hiccuped, I lost it. So hang on. I'm not going to pull it from the article because it's being too glitchy lately. So hang on. Let me do this officially the right way. But yeah, so we've got a verdict in Seattle. And this is how you stop this stuff right here. This is how you make it all go away. Was it this one or this one? I don't remember. No, I think it's this one. All right. Here we go.
Clerk, please read the verdict form.
The state of, in the Superior Court of Seattle, in the Superior Court of the State of Washington in Portland County, the state of Antonio Mays Jr., by and through the personal representative of the state of Antonio Mays Jr. and Antonio Mays Sr. plaintiff versus the city of Seattle, a government entity defendant. Cause number 23-2-10439-1 SCA
Lieutenant City's negligence a approximate cost of the death of Antonio Mays Jr.? The answer is yes. Question number 3. What do you find to be the plaintiff's amount of damages? For the estate of Antonio Mays Jr., economic damages, $1,209,044.00. Non-economic damages, $2,838,500. For Antonio Mays Sr., economic damages, $567,712.00. Non-economic damages, 25,962,652. And then signed January 29th, presiding jury.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do something here called polling the jury. And what that means is I'm going to ask.
All right, so in case you couldn't hear that very well, let me break this down for you as succinctly as I can. So what just happened is the parents of the young man who was slain in the Chad's Chop Zone, Antonio Mays Jr., during the Summer of Love, was just awarded roughly $30 million in damages. This is how you stop this bullshit. This is how you stop what's happening in Minneapolis. This is how you stop what's happening everywhere. Is once it's over, you start suing these people out of existence so they understand that this crap cannot stand anymore. And trust me, there are autonomous zones happening in Minneapolis right now. The same people that are saying, well, ICE is going around demanding papers, and ICE is doing this, and ICE is dragging people out of their homes and dragging people out of their cars. Guess what? They're doing the same fucking thing. And they've been caught on video doing it. Well, we think you're ICE, and you have to prove to us that you're not because of the type of car that you're driving. So when ICE says we think you're illegal and you have to prove to us that you're not, that's wrong, but them doing it is perfectly fine. And that's exactly why Don Lemon and a whole host of folks got arrested today, because they believed their own bullshit and thought they were fighting the Nazis and this was World War II reincarnated, and now they're finding out the hard way that they were patsies. And that's the truth of it, folks. That's what upsets me the most about all of this. You know, we can talk about Renee Good being in the wrong and the things that she did wrong. We can talk about Alex Preddy being apparently a very angry sumbitch who was doing some not so nice things around the same time that he wound up eventually having to pay for his stupidity with his life. But it's not their fault either. We are at this point, whether you realize it or not, China is trying to tear us apart from the inside out. And it's only gotten worse since Donald Trump took power, because Donald Trump is trying to do the same thing to China. The problem is Donald Trump's ideas are working much better because he's actually attacking them in their financial sector. They're attacking us by turning us against each other and pitting us against fellow Americans because, oh my God, these people are supporting Nazi Gestapo tactics. No, we're not. We're telling you exactly what we've been telling you all along. That the amount of illegal aliens in this country is unsustainable, and it has been for a long, long time. Because back in 1986, the Republicans bought a bunch of Democratic bullshit and said, okay, we're going to take care of it. And then the Democrats said, oh, thanks for giving us what we wanted. Yeah, about that immigration reform. Yeah, we were just kidding. We didn't really mean it. But here we are. Some of these same people, because they're fucking fossils, are still in the Senate and still in the House, and they're doing it again. Because the Democrats have been able to throw a temper tantrum, and now they're moving us towards a potential shutdown unless we do a carve-out and get rid of the DHS funding, because they want to talk about ICE. You know what they want to do? They want, and they said this out loud already, and nobody's listening to them. They don't want to get ICE better trained. They want to defund it. They want to remove it. And now at this point, they also want to get rid of DHS. Now, there was a time that I would have agreed with them, and I still might once they're done cleaning house. But now is not the time to get rid of them. There are a lot of things that were brought into play through the Patriot Act that I think really need to be readdressed sooner rather than later, but only after we've gotten the work done, because there are still millions of people that shouldn't be here. And I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for them. I don't care how long they've been here. I don't care if they've played by every other rule, because they still got here the wrong way. And that's the whole point of justice being blind. It's not about, well, we should have sympathy for them because even though they got here illegally, they're still contributing to the community. They're doing this, they're doing that. If justice is blind, then it can't look at that. This is no different, and believe me when I say this to you, there is legal precedent on the other side. How many times have cops known and been able to prove that somebody was doing something illegally, but because of how they got there, it was considered fruit of the poisonous tree, wasn't allowed to be used in court, and therefore those people went free? The reverse is and should always be true. It doesn't matter how productive of a citizen you are when you're not actually a citizen and you broke the law to get in here. It doesn't matter. You still started off on the wrong foot. So do everyone a favor. Take the very generous offer of $2,600 and a free flight back to where you came from, and then turn around and file to come back in again. Yes, it's going to take some time. But you know what? If the left wasn't fighting us about deportations and wasn't fighting us about getting all these people out of the country that shouldn't be here, it would be a hell of a lot easier to have a discussion about streamlining our immigration process. But we can't do that while it's broken and still being abused. And people that are still here not only taking advantage of it, but burdening our entire system and the way that we live. We act like these things have never happened before in our history. I've talked about this now on this show. I talked about it with Jen last night. In the 50s, they completely shut down immigration because there was such an influx of people coming in after World War II that they said, we've got to figure this out. We can't take any more people in. We've got to get these people, we've got to get them under control. We've got to get them situated. We got to figure out who can come in, who we've got to turn back. And then we'll see about reopening our immigration policies. But that's the point. We are a country. We are a sovereign nation. We have a right, a ability, nay, dare I say, a duty or responsibility to protect our citizens from people that are coming into the country to do bad things. There's now all kinds of audio footage coming out about a lot of people that have been crossing from the southern border saying, well, we're just here to reclaim the territory that was taken from us. Because we're allowing them to. So why the hell wouldn't they? And this is on top of everything else. This is on top of everything else. Yes, the border's secure. Finally, secure enough that we actually have net negative migration for the first time in 20 some odd years. The economy's starting to pick up well enough that we've now, for the first time in 26 years, produced more steel than Japan. But we still have Democrats fighting us every step of the way. And make no mistake, the real reason they're trying to shut the government down is because it will cause GDP to go down at least a point, possibly two, the longer they can keep it shut down. And they know it. If they can make the American people feel like what Donald Trump is doing isn't fixing the economy, then they know they're going to be able to win the midterms. If Donald Trump is allowed to do what he's been doing and do so unobstructedly, then the American people are going to thrive. As much as I don't like some of the things that he's been doing, let me paint you a stark picture between the Democrats and the Republicans at this point. The Democrats, and you can see this in Virginia, because a Democratic governor was just reelected. They now have control of their entire legislature, whatever the hell they call it. They use different language there because Virginia is not considered a state, it's a commonwealth, and I know they call their legislative body something else, and I've never taken the time to try to remember what it is because I don't really care. But they're floating all kinds of stuff, from taxing, Uber Eats and all the other gig work basically out of existence. They're talking about raising the income tax there. They're talking about basically doing all these different things that are going to kill the middle class while they're screaming and yelling about affordability because, well, how are we going to pay for all these things if we're not taxing people? Well, you're going to destroy the middle class while you're doing it. Oh, so you're saying you want us to tax the rich. Congratulations. Welcome to our side of the argument. No, that's not what we're saying either. We're saying you're being retarded. But that's the stark difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, especially lately. Joe Biden wanted to basically tax you if you sold something that you would already pay taxes on using something like Venmo or PayPal or something else for more than $600. Doesn't matter that that your income was already taxed before you bought it. You were taxed when you bought it. Once you sold it, if it was more than $600, then you get to pay taxes on it again. Now we've got Donald Trump, who basically just said any child born between this day and this day is going to get a $1,000 starter Trump account. Now you can agree to disagree about whether that's a good idea or not, because jury's out for me. But it's definitely a stark difference between how the Democrats want to do things versus how the Republicans want to do things. Because from what I'm seeing, if that account gets started, even for the kids that are born outside of the window to get the $1,000, you still have the option to open one. And if you just open one and set a little bit of money to go in there every month, I've seen projections of kids when they hit 22, 23, 24, 25 years old, having up to $1 million sitting in that account. Now, you tell me how much different life would be if your child that up until now has been stuck living in your basement had $1 million in the bank. How much different would your life be? How much different would their life be? And this is part of what the Republicans have been trying to tell you for 30 fucking years. If we just privatize part of Social Security, if we just lower the Social Security rate and say what we would recommend that you do with this money, and we'll even help you set up the account if you decide to do it, is put it over here, put it over here, put it over here, put it over here. And then it comes out automatically. Nobody thinks about it. Nobody has to worry about it. And before you know it, you're able to retire at 50 instead of 70. But the Democrats don't want you to be retired. They also don't want you to be retired successfully. Because if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you are more likely to vote for them when they say, vote for us and we're going to give you more free shit. They don't want you free. They want you living in the illusion of freedom while you stay in the rat race. This is why they hated Reagan so much. Reagan turned our economy on its head and everything that we ever believed about our economy on its head. And his administration was so successful, they had to change how we looked at the unemployment numbers. Because too many people, instead of doing the 9-to-5 thing and the 40-hour work week thing and the going to work somewhere for 20 years and getting a gold watch and a fuck you on the way out the door, were starting their own businesses and hiring new people and bringing in new work. And now with the technology that we have today, there's an absolute bonanza potential to do it again if we would get out of people's way. And Donald Trump recognizes that. But the Democrats don't want you to have access to that. Because if you do, then you're not going to be dependent upon them anymore. If you've got $1 million by the time you hit 26 years old, you don't need them anymore. You're not, well, I don't need your food stamps anymore. I don't need this. I don't need that. I've got enough money to put a down payment on a decent little starter house, even if it's not the exact one that I want someday, that then I can fix up once I've done that and then sell it off if I want and buy something better or keep fixing it up. And then eventually use that as a wealth building tool and basically take out an equity loan and then start a business. While I've still got anywhere from $700,000 to $900,000 in the bank, depending on how much I decide to use as a down payment. The things that we're talking about today could be and should be and are absolutely life-changing, but the Democrats want us fighting with each other and talking about how one side is Nazis versus the other, when one is trying to tax you out of existence and collapse the system, so you have to wait for them to come in and fix it and then put you under their thumb officially, and then you're, oh, thank you for saving us. Here, enjoy your little box house, your one-size-fits-all car, and this is where you get to go to work on Monday, and thank you for your service. That's where they want us. And I'm going to be honest, that's where both sides want us. That's where both sides have wanted us for a long time. Donald Trump is probably the first president that I know of in a long time that you could tell absolutely loves this country. And he's getting shit on it for it. And now, well, they're gonna arrest him when he leaves because of all the money that he's made while he was president. You know what? I would much rather have a president making money on the presidency out in the open so we can see what they're doing than doing it behind the scenes and using it to curry favors and influence. I would much rather have it out in the open, because let's not pretend that shit doesn't happen. Can we just stop pretending that shit doesn't happen? I mean, hell, Joe Biden was doing it when he was vice president. You know, Barack Obama was doing it. Hell, Michelle Obama's pissed off right now because nobody recognizes her as anything other than the first lady because, well, I went to Harvard and I did this and I did that and nobody knows who I am except for being the first lady of the United States. Well, you know, is that not good enough for you? I mean, technically, I'm pretty sure you were the first man whore, but that's different. It's infuriating. It is absolutely infuriating. All right, so I know we've got at least another quick hit that I wanted to get into, so hang on just a second. In the list of things that make absolutely no sense, but they're happening anyway, this was put on my radar by my good friend, Two Cynic Al. And this is from, I guess it's the Michigan Attorney General, but here we go.
The truth is, this administration wants access to Michigan's and other states' voter rolls so that they can intimidate us and others, so they can make us afraid to vote. So this is our message to the administration. I will not stop fighting for our rights and for our neighbors. We will not stop fighting against every effort and lie that attempts to silence the voices and votes of the American people. And Mr. President, we ask you to work to ensure that if you truly care about election security, that you support election officials on the ground who are working to tackle real threats to our elections. The truth is, this is...
All right, so we're going to stop right there just for a second, because I got to ask this question. What is up with Democrats and crazy-eyed chicks? Is that like a default setting for them now? I mean, for those of you that are listening on the audio podcast later, you're going to be really confused as to what I'm talking about. But she's blonde hair, looks like she's got brown eyes. She's just got the big, you know, I'm going to kill you, stab you in your sleep, saucer eye face going on while she's talking. I'm just like, is this like the new default setting for Democrat females? Because, yeah, fun times. Fun times. All right. Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we have hit the point where we do have to take the top of the hour break. Just so you know, this one is out now. It is available on Spotify, YouTube Music, and all the cool places to get your songs. As we normally do on Friday, we do a shout out to first responders as well as military. So for right now, we are going to do the first responder shout out. This is Always Standing in the Gap from the KLRM Radio House Band. Right from my own personal YouTube music library. Here we go. Let me make sure it was working. Hang on.
When the call comes in, somebody answers. Day or night, they're already moving. Calm voices, fast hands, doing the work while the rest of the world freezes. From a headset to a truck, from a badge to a door, they don't stop to count the cost. They step in when it matters. It's not about being seen, it's about being there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead, standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. the scene is clear. Someone's already making sense of the moment. Keeping people alive, keeping things from getting worse. Some run toward danger, some stay behind and hold it together. Different roles, same weight, same promise to show up. When everything's on the line, they're already there. They're holding the line when the lines go dead. Standing their ground when the world goes dark. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line through the fire, the flood. When everything falls, they don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. This is service, this is sacrifice, this is how lives are saved. No spotlight, no applause, just showing up again and again. They're holding the line when the world goes dark. When everything's breaking, they hold their ground. They're the calm in the chaos, holding the line. So we raise our voices for the ones who stand. Every voice, every badge, every helping hand. They don't ask why, they just answer the call. Always standing in the gap for us all. Always standing in the gap for us all. For those who run and for those who hold steady. For those who stand in the gap.
Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
It's new. Fast. There are more than 2 million possible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Long clock barking like it's got a vendetta. Coffee tastes like bad decisions I ain't made yet. Boss man talking about we got it, and that means me, brother. Afraid I got a terminal case of the I don't want us. Mind checked out, heart ain't in the building. That second hand's crawling like it hates my guts. The man treating rich like it's a sin. Even God took a beat. So suck it. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a barstool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't only me. So raise 'em up high. Let the whistle blow. Thank God it's Friday. That's all I know. HR in the break room sounding like a preacher, talking about culture smiles and being team players. Clipboard dreams on the floor resting like selling hours of my life just to make it to Friday night. Got dirt on my jeans, grease on my hands, clock more over than quality plans. But when that bell rings, it's a holy sound. Feel like change hit the floor when it echoes around. I ain't lazy, I just work my fill. If rest is a sin, guess I always will. Thank God it's Friday, punching out loud. Hands in the air, middle finger to 9 to 5. Bill's still waiting, but tonight I don't care. Cold beer sermon and a barstool prayer. Take this job and shove it, I quit. Till Monday, cause tonight I'm free. Yeah, work and wait. It ain't on me. So raise 'em up high.
And welcome back into the Finally Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show. So much news, I'm not sure we're going to be able to fit it all in, but that's all right because we do have the weekend news roundup coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern when I'm joined by, from Town Hall, Amy Curtis, from Town Hall Red State and KLRN Radio, Brad Slager, from SHR Media, as well as the LoftusParty.com, which I also work for. None other than, I call him the Boston Bastage. You know him as Sean Lewis. They'll all be joining us today while we unpack all of the craziness that's been coming out and getting you ready for everything you need to know for whatever else is coming from their Friday news dump, because holy crap, has there been one of those today. All right, so we're going to get right back into it. Don't forget, middle of this hour, we'll be doing our military shout out. So there's a long break for the middle of the hour, which is why I'm trying to get into the material. I haven't put together the shorter version of that song yet. I do plan to eventually. But I kind of like the longer version too. So let's get into the long and the short of it here, because there's lots of stuff going on. So apparently there are some reporters, and this is from Amy Curtis, she'll probably talk about this later today, but there are some quote unquote reporters that are really mad because Donald Trump skipped questions. So Caitlin Collins, in what I believe is a first, President Trump declines to take any questions at his cabinet meeting. And then again, later in the day, for the second time today, Trump declines to take any questions from reporters. Hard to think of a moment in the Trump presidency when that's happened before. It's simply incredible how the media lack any sort of introspection or common sense. And this is from Gray Connolly. You had 4 years of Joe Biden barely appearing in public, and your complaint now is Donald Trump spurning you for one day? For real? Um, but this next post may be the most telling of them all. This is from Extremely Careless. Wow, Joe Biden surprises reporters with first ever press briefing appearance. And this is from Newsweek. President Joe Biden surprised reporters on Friday when he joined a White House press briefing for the first time in his presidency, towards the end of his presidency, by the way. That was October 4th, 2024, for those of you keeping score. That was a month before the next election and 3 months before Biden left office. And that was the first time Biden made an appearance at a press briefing in 4 years. Yet no one said a word. So for 4 years, you had a guy who was calling lids by 11 a.m., calling lids at 9 a.m., saying he was going to be done by 11 a.m. so he could be tucked in with his tapioca by noon and get his power nap in for 8 hours before he got up, did a couple of calls, and went right back to bed. But Donald Trump decides, hey, for one day, I'm going to skip questions because, the last time we did one of these cabinet meetings, it went on for 3.5 hours. And y'all were complaining because there were still shots of me closing my eyes because it was going on for 3.5 hours. So, yeah, I'm going to do a shorter one today. So, yeah, but that's just it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the disingenuousness from one side versus the other. So remember when I told you that I had receipts? Remember when I was talking about earlier about the fact that one of the socialist parties was involved in all this bullshit? So this is from our friends over at Town Hall. This is Jeff Charles. As federal authorities investigate who is providing funding to anti-ICE protesters in the Minneapolis-St. Louis area, a key figure has emerged. American millionaire Neville Royce Singham is believed to have donated substantial sums of money to some of these organizations that have organized the resistance to the Trump administration's immigration enforcement actions in the city. According to Fox News Digital, Singham is aligned with Chinese Communist Party. Oh, hang on. I got a rule.
China is asshole.
I realized I didn't do that earlier because I haven't had to bring them up in a while, so I'm out of practice. And has advocated for the regime's causes. So this is a quote. Earlier this week, a Fox News digital investigation found several organizations are acting as lead voices in physically mobilizing agitators in Minneapolis, as well as communicating through multiple channels to encourage agitators to take to the streets in Minnesota and other cities as well. The Party for Socialism and Liberation and the People's Forum are two of the core groups who allegedly have been behind facilitating and pushing agitators to organize on multiple occasions. Both organizations are largely subsidized by American former tech mogul Neville Royce Singham, according to reports and congressional probes. Despite Singham facing federal investigations stretching back decades, a former federal prosecutor tells Fox News Digital that the multimillionaire's move to China essentially shields him from being subpoenaed by U.S. authorities. Singham therefore remains virtually untouchable as his dark money networks continue to wreak havoc on U.S. soil, and the former prosecutor added. All right, so we know it's him. They've been able to tie it back to him. So why have they not declared him a foreign actor and a foreign terrorist and frozen his assets yet? This is the stuff that I'm talking about. We are not playing hardball enough with these people. We keep talking about them performing acts of terror. We now know that this is basically Chinese subversion, and we're going to sit on it. Now, again, I could be wrong, because I'm starting to sound like the they don't do nothing crowd who just got a huge wake-up call today. We hopefully will have some time to get into that in the second half of the show. Because, yeah, apparently they just dumped like 3 million Epstein file documents. So we'll see. I thought I saw 3M, so I'm assuming that was 3 million. So the 71-year-old U.S. citizen turned Shanghai resident reportedly shares office space with the Mako Group, a Chinese media company that is funded by Singham and is associated with the CCP propaganda, including a mission to tell China's story well. So this is a clip from, it looks like Rep. Anna Paulina Luna. Looks like she was on with Jesse Waters yesterday. So let's get that queued up. And I think we have it now. And here we go.
Congresswoman, I know you guys are investigating some of the funding behind this stuff, and I know Kash Patel is. What can you tell us?
Look, recently I actually had made the motion to send a subpoena. It was passed bipartisan from House Oversight for Neville Singham for his refusal to come before Congress and accept receipt of our invitation to talk about the funding that he's been launching against the American people that are largely contributing to some of these violent protests. But to be clear, Jesse, this is only benefiting China. Neville Singham has been funding these communist and socialist groups. He's a self-proclaimed Leninist and Marxist, and he again is refusing to come into the United States. We've even sent myself and Chairman Comer a letter to the Treasury Department asking them to freeze his assets, of which we will be following up when we get back to Washington. And I also heard, Jesse, that even though we are trying to serve him in an effort to bring him into Congress to testify, that he's been quietly sneaking in and out of this country. And so, yes, if you're looking for who's funding these, it is him, and the Treasury Department does have the authority to freeze his assets.
All right. So when he flies into the country and then flies back to Beijing, we don't have any notice, the CIA doesn't have, or the DOJ doesn't have any notice what flight he's on, if it's private, what airport he's landing at. We can't serve him when he lands?
I think that they could get that information, but that would require them to open up a criminal investigation. But again, I think that they have grounds to do so. I've also sent letters to the Department of Justice to try to hit him with a FARA violation because he's not a registered foreign agent for China. But again, that would require a criminal aspect. But either which way, he's not receiving, and he will not, in my opinion, accept receipt of the subpoena, which means we'll be able to hold him in contempt of Congress. So that would then initiate the criminal proceedings.
Are you even allowed to frolic around China with pink shirts like that?
I think if you are shilling on behalf of the Communist Chinese Party, probably.
That's true. It's definitely a fashion violation, that's for sure. Anna Paulina, thank you so much as always. We appreciate it. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, Jesse.
Just gonna say it again. Republican women are so much hotter. I'm just saying. It's a true statement. You can hate me for it later, but the only reason you hate me is because you know it's true. So we got to get into this because this is happening all over the place. So here in Oklahoma, there has been a Democratic Congress critter at the state level who has resigned in disgrace after pleading guilty to submitting fraudulent checks to the ethics committee or the ethics commission, sorry. Which seems really stupid, but so that happened. So apparently she's pled guilty. She's had to resign. She will not be allowed to hold office for up to 15 years. I'm thinking that should be a lifetime thing, but what do I know? And then in the ethics file, we have this. There's been a damning ethics findings have fueled, again, the expulsion request for Rep. Sherfulus McCormick, who is out of Florida. So this is by Rusty Weiss over at Red State. Democrat Rep. Sheila Sherfulus McCormick, Florida 20, is facing renewed calls for her expulsion after the House Ethics Committee's investigative subcommittee released a damning report Thursday finding substantial reason to believe that she violated multiple federal laws. Republican Rep. Greg Staub, I guess, Florida 17, cited a resolution he filed in November regarding what he described as serious financial crimes and said he would seek to file again this week. McCormick was indicted by a grand jury in November for allegedly stealing $5 million in FEMA money during the COVID-19 pandemic, then using it to fund her campaign. She claimed the investigation was politically motivated, a means to distract from the Epstein files, which have all been released today, so y'all can finally shut up about that shit. Additionally, she went and said the line, accusing the Department of Justice of targeting black and brown people. Of course she did. The House Ethics Committee, however, found substantial evidence she violated several laws, regulations, and standards of conduct as a member of Congress. And this is from Bill Melugent's X account from earlier, it looks like yesterday. Breaking, Congressman Craig Staub of Florida will move to expel Rep. McCormick, I'm not trying to say that first name, Democrat Florida from Congress following House Ethics Committee probe and DOJ. Why can I not say House Ethics today? Committee probe and DOJ indictment for allegedly stealing and laundering $5 million in FEMA funds. You know, I've been saying this as more and more of this stuff comes out, and I actually may wind up doing an entire special on this on Monday night to all the different fraud that we're finding, because I honestly think now that we have a fraud czar, if we really start peeking under the hood about this stuff, we may not have a national debt within the next 10 years. If we start clawing back all the money that's been stolen from us, we may not have a national debt anymore, which is probably another reason why the Democrats are fighting so hard to get back into power, because you'll notice it's mostly them being caught up in this bullshit. I'm not saying there haven't been some Republicans. I guarantee you there are a few. But it seems like everything that we're finding is pointing back to mostly one party. And I wonder why it is they're fighting so hard. We've been saying this now for 3 weeks when it comes to the stuff in Minneapolis. ICE is conducting operations in all 50 states. Why is Minneapolis the only city that's imploding? Why is Minneapolis the only one with riots? Why is Minneapolis one of the only ones, even in the places that claim to be sanctuary cities, that aren't at least working with ICE a little bit to try to keep things calm? And it's because it's been a nice distraction up until now. But yeah, all of these different ethics committee complaints and all these different things that we're finding, I don't know. Music to my ears is all I'm going to say. All right, so not only was, before we get into the Don Lemon stuff, because we're probably going to save that for next hour, or the next hour, but next segment, I do want to talk about this because it wasn't just Don Lemon that was arrested. So they already got one of the ringleaders the other day. So Tram Jean Cruz was arrested. Georgia Fort and Jamal Ladell Lundy were also arrested in relation to the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. So this is the point that I've been trying to make. I think part of the reason why we feel like Pam Bondi isn't doing enough is because even our side has bought into the BS narrative that, all of this stuff should be able to be wrapped up within 42 minutes, not counting commercials. And we want our TV dinner on our tray within 3 minutes or less. Our side is starting to fall prey to that too. And if you don't believe me, then you need to go back and listen to the America Off the Rails special that I just did I did 2. So you should probably listen to both. One was from last Sunday night talking about, having to make decisions in the blink of an eye and how much more difficult it is than everybody seems to want to make it look like when you have the ability to rewind, fast forward, etc. Then on Monday, we did a deep dive on everything the FBI has done from January 20th, 2025 until now. And you wouldn't believe the number of arrests and the number of clawbacks for fraud and everything else that they've been able to accomplish because nobody's talking about them. Now, we can blame the administration for this, for not, talking about the things that they're accomplishing, but we have to remember, we as the voters have computers in our pockets, we have access to social media, we can be the ones telling the story for the administration instead of relying on the administration to do it themselves. Because the administration is honestly and quite effectively trying to do a million different things all at once, all at the same time, while fighting Chinese insurgencies, while fighting Democratic insurgencies, and while dealing with a media that hates them. So maybe we should start becoming the people that tell the story for them. Because if we're going to start calling people like Don Lemon citizen journalists, it's time we actually start having actual citizen journalists, because Don Lemon is not one. All right, so we're going to go ahead and take the break. When we come back, we'll get into the whole Don Lemon thing, because there's a lot of things to unpack there, because Gina and I were talking about this, not this past Wednesday night, but the previous one, and kept telling everybody to calm down, because eventually arrests will be made. There's an entire process that has to go through with this stuff. So we're going to back that up a little bit and give some backstory there, and then we'll get into the juiciness of the day with Don Lemon now officially facing federal charges. Music to my ears. Music's to my ears. Sorry, I'm just doing fresh loads on everything because it's all been being crazy. I think this is the one I'm looking for. I think. We'll see. There we go.
was spoken out loud. Before you stood apart from the crowd, there was a moment, quiet and clear, when you chose to stand while others stayed here. You raised your hand with a steady resolve, knowing some nights don't end when the mission's done. Not for glory, not for the pay, but for something worth more than walking away.
Only hold the line.
They carried the weight where the roads ran long, through dust and heat
when the days went on,
holding ground mile after mile, doing the work that rarely drew a smile. They stood their post when relief ran late, shoulders squared under the pull of fate.
Not chasing headlines, not asking why, just staying put when others pass by. We stand and watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to.
We stand watch over the deep. They kept their watch where the water turns black, miles from shore with no quick way back, measuring time by the rise and the fall, answering duty's unrelenting call. Through silent hours and endless seas, they stood their post in the cold night breeze,
guarding the lanes the world depends on, so others slept and the light stayed on. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to.
Simplify Marine.
We go where we're sent. We go where we're sent.
They moved as one when the moment came, side by side through fire and rain. First to step where the ground was thin, not for the odds but for the ones beside them.
Trust was earned in the hard way through, every promise carried by the few. No turning back once the line was crossed.
They stood shoulder to shoulder as brothers,
never counting the cost. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One old spoken carried through, wherever duty calls us to.
Air Force,
the sky is our domain.
Air Force,
the sky is our domain.
they held their focus where seconds seemed eternal, soaring between clouds and blue. Every movement measured and true, knowing what one clean moment could do.
They watch the whole while guarding the small, every mission tied to a larger call. Calm under pressure, steady and clear, keeping the promise from far overhead.
Space Force,
we guard the dark without
they
veil.
keep their vigil
Where silence reigns,
beyond the weather,
beyond the rain.
watching the paths that the world relies on, long before the warning lights come on.
Cloud, no banners, no clear view,
just constant care in a canvas full of stars,
standing the watch through the endless night, guarding the systems that keep us in light.
while the watch is kept and the lines hold fast. There are lives still moving on the other side of that.
Empty chairs and quiet phones, long goodbyes that don't feel done.
Names we carry but never say, folded flags and debts we pay. Every service, every every scar reaches farther than the uniform ever could.
Coast Guard, we come when it matters most.
They launch into storms when hope feels thin. Turning back isn't an option then. Hands reach out where the waters rise, pulling lives back from the edge of time. No headlines waiting when the call is done. Just breathing restored and another life won. Every rescue, every return, a quiet promise kept in the worst conditions. We stand the watch in different ways, different nights, the same long days. One unspoken carry through wherever duty calls us to. For the ones who raised the right hand high, swore the oath and didn't ask us why. For the nights you stood where freedom cost. We remember, we are, we won't forget the loss. From the ground to the sea, to the open sky, to the guardians above where the silent stars fly. Every branch, every badge, every battle scar, because you stood, we live free. Oh, we know we stand here freely because others stood before us. We accept the weight of what was given and the cost that came with it. We promise to remember those who serve, those who stand watch still, and those who never came home.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Our colleague David Spunt and I getting this breaking news from multiple law enforcement sources just minutes ago, confirming that former CNN anchor Don Lemon has been arrested by federal agents in Los Angeles just after midnight this morning at a hotel. This obviously all in connection with that storming of a church in St. Paul, Minnesota by that group of anti-ICE agitators. Now remember, the feds had gone to judges to try to get Don Lemon arrested before. They went to a magistrate judge in Minnesota who didn't sign off on an arrest warrant for him. Then it went to a judge above him. He didn't sign off on an arrest warrant for him. Then it went to an appeals court. They also decided not to sign off for an arrest warrant for him. So there was experts who were predicting that perhaps the feds would go to a grand jury. It remains to be seen if that's what happened here, but we can confirm that Don Lemon was arrested in Los Angeles by federal agents just after midnight Los Angeles time at a hotel. Now, typically, standard procedure with an arrest like this is the defendant will likely make their first court appearance sometime the same day. So there's a chance we may see Don Lemon make his first court appearance in Los Angeles sometime today. But obviously, this is going to grab all sorts of headlines. 3 other protesters from that church storming, have already been arrested, including who the feds say was the organizer of that protest. The woman in the middle there is a school board member in St. Paul, and then the mugshot on the right is an online personality / agitator, if you want to call him that. He's known as the Woke Farmer. Those were the 3 people that the feds had already arrested, but we have confirmed that Don Lemon has now been arrested in Los Angeles in connection with that viral incident. We all saw the video of it that spread and drew widespread condemnation. The feds have been going after these people on FACE Act violations. So this is still breaking news. Once we get more details about the potential charges here, a court appearance, we'll, of course, update our viewers.
All right, so that's what I when I was coming back into the room with my coffee this morning, that's what I was greeted with, was that announcement. And I laughed so hard my dog looked at me like I was retarded. And yes, as a friend of mine pointed out, dog wasn't necessarily wrong. Thanks for pointing that out, but it is a true statement. But yeah, so Don Lemon has been arrested, and I told you guys it was only going to be a matter of time, and that's why now we're going to slow this down a bit, because this is part of what I'm trying to make everybody understand. When crimes are committed and law enforcement is not present to witness those crimes, there is an entire process that has to go into charges being filed and levied. And part of that is being able to make sure that you can verify the source material. So yes, there were all kinds of video shots of Don Lemon, before going in and telling, well, when he's inside the church, I'm just here as an observer. I'm a member. I'm a journalist. I'm a journalism. I'm helping. But yeah, before then he's like, and this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we're gonna do, and basically lumping himself in with the protesters, which is why he was eventually able to be charged for violating their First Amendment rights to freedom of worship, because his First Amendment rights didn't apply anymore because he was on private property with public access. So they get to decide who still has civil rights and who doesn't, not him. And the fact that these people basically busted into the church and then started trying to instigate a bunch of stuff and then tried to make it seem like they were, the Gandhis of all of this mess. It's just been so much fun to watch, because Gina and I called this 2 weeks ago, and everybody even then was like, I can't believe they haven't been arrested yet. I can't believe they haven't done this. I can't believe they haven't done that. It's right there on the video, and I don't know what's taking so long. And I'm like, you guys don't understand how the legal system works. The legal system, as somebody who's been a part of it, is retarded, but it's retarded on purpose because it defaults to protecting the people that are considered innocent until proven guilty. So it doesn't matter that it was on video, just like everybody that's freaking out today because the judge is like, yeah, we're going to take the stalking charge off the table, which made absolutely no sense to me. And we'll probably get into that a little bit more on the Weekend News Roundup, because it's more of the serious news show. But, just to tie the two together, even though we watched the dude get gunned down on video, and we're 99% sure that guy was him, that hasn't technically been proven yet by the court. So because one of the things that brought the death penalty onto the table was the stalking for the intent of murder charge that they tried to tack on, according to the judge, that doesn't fly. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I'm not the judge, and I didn't ever go to school to get my law degree and try to become a lawyer and then eventually a judge. So I don't really have much room to say anything other than scratching my head. But as far as the rest of this stuff goes, this is what we were telling you over 2 weeks ago. Just give it time. Just be patient. And I've been saying that about so many things because everybody's been calling Kash Patel worthless and Pam Bondi worthless and griping because she's always on Fox News. You know what? She's the person at the top of the food chain. That means if she's doing her job right and delegating things the way she's supposed to be, she does have time to go out and be the mouthpiece for the Attorney General's office, unless she wants to let somebody else do it. Now, for some reason, she likes to do it. Like everybody's pissed off at Kristi Noem for all of her photo ops because, well, if she's doing her job right and she's delegating properly, she can be the spokesperson for DHS if that's what she decides she wants to do, unless, of course, they decide to make somebody else their public information officer. And as far as I know, I don't know whether she's done that or not. Now, you can make fun of the fact that she shows up wearing body armor and all these things all you want, but let's face it, whether you like it or not, she has in fact been rather effective. The only thing that the problem is the left is winning the narrative today because we haven't been doing enough to shut down the protests at the federal level. That is a combination of failures across all of the branches, because once they started figuring out where this funding was coming from, and I know part of what they're thinking, and I've been saying this for a while, one of the reasons why I don't think they've perp walked a lot of these bigger figures that I'm sure they're starting to be able to tie all this stuff to is they are still working on building a case by flipping as many people as they can to get them to the point where they're ready to testify against them. Because when you go after big fish, you have to have lots of ammo. So I think that may be what's happening here. But now that the public's starting to receive the information about the millionaire who's hiding out in China, who has ties to CCP, who has ties to this other, this other socialist group that is an active contributor to politics and shit in this country, which I don't really even know why or how that's allowed. I mean, I get we have First Amendment rights, but there are certain things that are antithetical to your First Amendment rights, and supporting socialism and communism to me would seem to be one of those things. But what do I know? But now that we're starting to figure all this out, now we have people that are finally starting to be arrested for all these various different things. So Don Lemon today, got arrested. And of course, all of the media talking heads are having a fit over it because, oh my God, he's a citizen journalist and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that's not how any of this works because he's not. Not in that instance, he wasn't. That's the problem. Sorry, I thought I had that on one of my articles, but apparently maybe it was over here. 1 second, please. I know I had it somewhere. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Sorry, I was thinking it was over at Town Hall, but I guess it was Red State. So this is just some of the reaction to Don Lemon being arrested today. This is from Brian, my mama calls me Potato Stelter. Or Stelter. For some reason I always used to pronounce his name wrong. So half the time now when I get it right, I'm like, Catherine Jacobson of the Committee to Protect Journalists reacts to the arrest of Don Lemon. As an international organization, we know that the treatment of journalists is an indicator of the condition of a country's democracy. The United States is doing poorly. And this is a quote from Cory Booker. Arresting a journalist is a blatant attempt to intimidate and a further indicator of Trump's authoritarianism. It goes against the most fundamental American values outlined in the First Amendment. Don Lemon has been on the ground in Minnesota like hundreds of others doing the work. Blah, blah, blah. That's Cory Booker. And this is Jim Acosta, attorney for my colleague and friend Don Lemon, has released a statement saying Don was arrested by federal agents in LA last night at the Grammys, by the way, which I thought was just saying. This is outrageous and cannot stand. The First Amendment is under attack in America. Except again, Don Lemon wasn't practicing First Amendment properly. There are restrictions to First Amendment, guys. Sorry. So to provide a little clarity, no one has a First Amendment right to deprive others of their First Amendment rights by storming private property, which is technically private property with public access, but that's splitting hairs, harassing people in a place of worship, and then refusing to leave immediately when asked. That's not a thing, no matter how many fake credentials you claim along the way. Being a journalist does not provide total immunity from the law. And I actually was quoting from Bonchi there, other than my little ad-lib in the middle, just to give him credit. And so this is Harris Bergeron. Joe Biden, no one is above the law. Governor J.B. Pritzker, no one should be above the law. Amy Klobuchar, in the United States of America, no one is above the law. And it looks like it just goes on and on and on and on. Jamal Bowman, Frederica Wilson, Tish James, Chuck Schumer, Mark Hamill. But now that it's somebody on their side, this isn't fair. So the problem is left-wingers have gotten really used to being able to jail their opponents while threatening the jailing of more of their opponents as a way to avoid liability for crimes they commit. And now we're starting to figure out their playbook and using it against them, and they don't like it. They don't like it. All right, so as we start rounding out the last segment of the show, before we take an hour break and then come back for the weekend news roundup because it gives me time to grab some lunch. Bad news for Governor Tim Walz because Donald Trump has not forgotten about Minnesota's fraud. This is from Dimitri Bolt over at Town Hall. Governor Tim Walz may believe that the chaos engulfing Minnesota has eclipsed the growing list of fraud scandals uncovered under his watch. From a massive COVID-era food program scheme to Medicare and Medicaid fraud and widespread abuse in the state's daycare system, Republicans began to question whether Walz would ever be held accountable. On Friday, President Trump made clear he hasn't forgotten. And here's the clip.
Mr. Homan, I'm sure you caught his remarks earlier today that he made in Minneapolis. Are you pleased with the job that he's doing? Do you feel that this change that you made, this personnel change, is an important one in terms of calming things down?
Well, I think he's terrific, but we have to get rid of the criminals. We have to take criminals out of our country. So from that standpoint, nothing's going to change. And we have to find out all of the fraud that's taken place in Minnesota. We have to get to it. They've stolen at least $19 billion, and we're going to find out who did it and where the money is.
This is Tim Walz right now. Sad tromboning it up because all your distractions are still going to wind up with you eventually probably facing some sort of jail time, especially now that your lieutenant governor has been caught up in all this signal gate crap. And if you haven't seen it yet, you should go check out Data Republican's account because apparently the all of the signal chats are starting to be infiltrated by white hats and they're sending all the information to the government. Oh, anyway, so yeah, fun times. Yeah, it's funny. Gene just posted the same thing that I was talking about because remember just a few short months ago, they were marching in the streets. No one is above the law. Now they're basically might as well be marching in the street holding banners saying that Don Lemon is in fact above the law because I'm a journalism and I'm helping. I hate these people. I hate them so many. All right, so let's take another quick hit around the headlines. So in case you missed it, there has been a replacement named for Jerome Too Late Powell as the Fed chair. Of course, the Democrats are like, we're not approving anybody right now, so it doesn't really matter, blah, 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 blah. But Jerome Powell's term as Federal Reserve Chair is up in just 3.5 months. President Trump has not been shy about his recent displeasure with the man he nominated for the role 8 years ago. Between a sharp difference of opinion regarding interest rates and issues regarding cost overruns for renovations at the Fed's headquarters, there's little on which the two seem to see eye to eye on. On Friday, Trump announced his pick to replace Powell when his term expires on May 15th, former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh. So, and I quote, this is from Trump, and I was quoting from the article before, and I'll quote the author in a second. I've known Kevin for a long period of time and have no doubt that he will go down as one of the greatest Fed chairmen, maybe the best, Trump wrote on Truth Social. On top of everything else, he is central casting and he will never let you down. Congratulations, Kevin. Like Powell, Warsh is not an economist by training. Instead, he brings a background in law and finance that has shaped his views on the Federal Reserve. He earned a bachelor's degree in public policy from Stanford University in 1992 and a law degree from Harvard in 1995. He built his career at Morgan Stanley and at 35 became the youngest person to serve on the Fed's board in 2006. As noted above, Warsh's background includes work in finance, government, and academia. He holds a law degree and previously was a key liaison between the Fed and the financial markets during the 2008 crisis. Markets, policymakers, and lawmakers are watching the nomination closely as it reflects Trump's influence on monetary policy and could signal a shift in the Fed's approach to interest rates under new leadership. And I'm just going to say this, they're already, at least before, now the Democrats may flub this up for at least another quarter if they manage to shut the government down. But they were already forecasting in Q4 and remember, financial quarters are different than you and me's tax quarters for the most part, but they're predicting Q4 to have a GDP of anywhere between potentially 5.1 to 6%, which would be unheard of right now and be unheard of in recent history. But I do want to point out, if not for Jerome Powell dragging his feet, there's a good chance we could already be sitting at 5.1 to 6%. And the thing about that is, that's the part of this that nobody talks about. This is something that in this industry we talk about all the time, which is why I've formed kind of a confederation with some smaller groups. Not because I want to put us all under the same umbrella, but because if we work together and push each other's content, we're hoping that, rising tide lifts all boats. And that's kind of the part that everybody forgets about. When you have people investing in the economy again, when you have jobs where people's money is increasing again, even if there's other things that have caused prices to go up, their wages starting to go up helps offset that. And eventually, as inflation goes down and stays down, some of the prices will rectify themselves. We now have, in most of the country, gas prices ranging anywhere between $2 to $3 a gallon. We have diesel prices in around the same ranges, between $3 to $4 a gallon. So that means that shipping costs are going to go down substantially, as they should. So there are all kinds of things that are starting to work if we would just stay out of the government's way. Or in this instance, stay out of Trump's way. Because I would much rather trust a millionaire with how to make money and build something than to trust a politician. Because, again, you'll see the difference between a politician. They want to tax you to death. Donald Trump wants to make sure that whatever we're calling the generation after Alpha actually has financial stability, which makes sense to me. I thought it would make sense to everyone else. But, of course, he's the rapist pedophile who's convicted of 34 felonies and blah, 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 blah. Never mind all of the extenuating circumstances and legal gymnastics that had to happen to technically make all of those things true, even if they are legitimately bald-faced lies. I mean, even the 34 felonies were up-jump state charges of the same thing over and over and over again, which he would have no direct knowledge of anyway because it was being handled through... Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today. So we got to talk about this real quick, because I do try to have a little bit more fun on Fridays, but today was kind of a serious news day. So we got to talk about this, though, because this happened, I think it was yesterday. Let me make sure I've got it on the screen.
Well, this appears to be a case of mistaken identity. Some TSA officers were eating dinner here. Someone thought they were ICE, and then the crowd showed up. Whistles and horns blaring of anger in Linwood.
Pero agent got this from ICE.
A crowd of anti-ICE protesters swarming a restaurant after reports that off-duty ICE agents were inside. But law enforcement sources tell Fox 11 this may be a case of mistaken identity. The agents weren't ICE, but instead TSA officers eating dinner.
ICE.
LA County Sheriff's deputies called in for crowd control, eventually calming the situation. Talk to y'all about what happened?
Oh, sure. Who are you guys with?
We're at Channel 11.
Oh, Fox?
Channel 11, Fox 11, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We asked an organizer what happened.
No comment.
Oh, we just want to ask what happened.
No, I know, but I just don't trust Fox.
She refused to speak with us, saying it was because we're Fox. Did you guys think it was ICE?
Potentially.
Yeah. When we turned to restaurant workers for answers, the organizer followed us inside, recording and telling employees in Spanish not to speak with us either.
Yeah, sorry to you. You're not getting nobody to talk to you.
Outside, straggler protesters also recording our camera, trying to stay incognito.
I think there's a place and time for everything.
This man arrived moments after the chaos ended to eat at the restaurant it all started. These are TSA agents.
You would understand people get very emotional, so they easily make mistakes. It happens. You take it out on the wrong people, which same thing as ICE. They say they're after criminals, but they're taking it out on everybody.
The TSA workers eventually escorted out safely with no arrest or injuries, but a moment that highlights how tense emotions are across LA. So a moment of mistaken identity, but again, no arrest and no injuries. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
Kind kind of felt that might have been an appropriate note to end on. However, I was trying to end on a somewhat happy note watching these people step on rigs because they, we found ICE agents, get them. Oh, wait, that's TSA. But I do have to make a sad announcement because this just came across my feed and it makes me really sad. So, Catherine O'Hare, the legendary actress of Schitt's Creek, SCHITTS, for those of you that yell at me about cussing, and Home Alone, dead at 71, reported just a few moments ago. So, way too many people that I used to watch when I was younger are croaking on me, and it makes me realize how old I actually am, and I don't like any of it. I don't like any of it at all. All right, we're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. So again, want to thank everybody for taking the time to hang out with us today. It has been my pleasure to hang out with you and do the thing that we do and have a lot of fun and try to talk about the news. Don't forget, here in about an hour, I'll be back with my good friends from Town Hall, from Town Hall Red State, KLRM Radio, and SHR Media, as well as the Loftus Party, as we talk about all the news that you need to know to get you ready for the weekend right here on KLRM Radio and Digital Beacon US News' Weekend News Roundup. Again, my name is Rick Robinson. This has been my show, and I just want to take one more moment to say thank you so much to everybody who has been watching us and paying attention to us and all those fun things. But we're going to get out of here. And again, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And because I got to get off here and make lunch, we're just going to go out quick style. So say goodnight, Gracie. Wrong button. Say goodnight, Gracie. Say goodnight, Gracie.